We're going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retro Fandango, episode number 154. I'm your co-host, Buried on Mars, also known as Kevin. I'm here with my pal, Ramvox, the, also known as Richard. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
We were actually ready to go. We actually had a little chat before we started recording, and you guys missed out. You guys missed out on a lot. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, a lot of crazy good things.
Oh yeah.
Like Winston's laugh from Ghostbusters. And we're going to do a little eulogy for Regis, whether Richard likes it or not. And we're going to talk some Enterprise Season 1, which I'm guessing Richard has watched.
What's with the rundown?
This is for all our new viewers and listeners.
You just gave away the whole show.
Oh, I tickled their ass with a feather.
Yeah, well, there's not much more depth than that. So.
I hooked them in. When they heard that stuff, they're like, yes, Star Trek talk.
Enterprise talk. Oh, boy.
So I'm assuming Richard's watched it, and I have not. I'm just trying to get the stuff out of the way before you distract and derail the show. So get the good stuff out of the way, and then let Richard do his thing.
Spontaneity. You know, they don't know what to expect.
Cartridge Club this month is... Wait, no, forget the Cartridge Club. The Quick Save Club this month is playing Fallout New Vegas for this month and next month. I've already put it in and started playing it. Then I played the game as well.
Wow.
See, that's
Isn't that a
comedy.
really long game?
It is. It is.
It's like one of them.
Although
one of them Fallout games.
Dean beat it in like a day and a half. He was like, I'm gonna type out my first impressions, and then the next day he was finished the game.
Well, Dean's got Dean time.
He's got Dean powers. CC Prime is playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. That's another extremely long game.
As one of them open world run around.
Yeah, that's a good game. I played it a few years ago on the Xbox.
I remember you talking about that.
It was good. It was good times.
Did you watch that that Witcher TV show?
No. The only TV show I have been watching is Sanford and Son.
Ooh, I nailed it in my head. That's what I was guessing.
That's it. That's the only TV show I've been watching. But Better Call Saul finished, and then I started watching Sanford and Son. That's it. Other than like I watch my political shows like Bill Maher and stuff like that. Samantha Bee.
Speaking of Better Call Saul, I was just watching a movie, and there was Bob Odenkirk in the back. Is like kind of like
oh yeah.
Little background, one line of dialogue, disappeared from the movie guy.
You know, we forgot. I don't think we mentioned when we talked about 5 Easy Pieces how that was Gilda Radner's first movie appearance. She was only in it for like 2 seconds. Actually, you might have not made it that far. Come to think of it.
I did. I did remember seeing that in the fun facts.
Okay. Are we plugging their September and October games as well?
I just put that there so I don't have to look it up for the next 2 months.
Fair enough. Okay.
So I'm going to start doing that for all of them.
Okay, you guys can wait till next month to hear what they're playing in September. RF Gen this month is playing Elite Beat Agents and Rhythm Heaven. They're playing 2 games, which are both rhythm games for the DS.
Mm-hmm.
And I've messed around with both, and I believe they were both fun for what they are. But I hate rhythm games. Rhythm games, they get to that curve where it's like, it's simple, and then they want you to do a little bit more, and once they get to a little bit more, that's it.
Yeah, they want you to play the game.
Yeah. I'm not very good. I'm not very good at those games.
The only rhythm game I ever really liked, like legitimately enjoyed, was the Bust a Groove games on PlayStation 1.
I've never played them.
I don't like rhythm games. I don't like dancing, but those games are so fun.
Fandango for this month. We haven't actually chose 3 movies yet. I suppose we can right now. We have 4 suggestions for movies.
Okay, I was wondering what was going on here.
So Derek recommended The Old Guard. Creepy Josh recommended Extraction. Society Josh recommended What Happened to Monday. And our pal Steven Eider recommended Tall Grass.
Okay, I don't know anything about these movies.
Me neither.
The Old Guard, at least, that's fairly recent. So I've seen the preview comes up. It's like top of the page. So, Woman with Guns is what I imagine there. So,
Well,
some
Derek
sort of
says
action movie.
it's best not to know anything. Just go in blind and watch
Okay.
it.
Well, I'm just trying to guess genres based on these titles.
Okay.
Tall Grass sounds like some sort of a horror sci-fi thing.
Mm-hmm.
Extraction, I think that might be something with Ryan Reynolds.
Is it
think
that one?
I don't know. I think I may have seen that, just in the window.
Is
The
it a Michael
tiles.
Bay movie? I tried watching something with Ryan Reynolds in it, and it was terrible.
I don't know, but that sounds like an action movie. And What Happened to Monday? I have no idea.
Apparently, What Happened on Monday is not available in Netflix Canada.
Oh, you know what? Let me peek real quick.
See if that's
for
available
these
here.
others.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, isn't it? How can it not be? Isn't it a Netflix original? That's what we're doing.
So we actually had this discussion over in Discord. That's how great Discord is, because you can have these sort of discussions. Apparently, Netflix will produce movies, and they will be Netflix originals or whatever in the United States. But when they bring them into other territories and that, it might actually be more lucrative for them to sell them to other distributors. So a Netflix movie might be a Netflix movie in the United States, but if it's in Canada or whatever, it might go through another distributor, and they will own the rights for the movie.
Or maybe they get exclusive distribution rights for other
Might be, yeah.
non-Netflix created things that are sent overseas, because that's how that what's that show called with Burnham? Discovery.
Oh, Star Trek. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that here is titled as a Netflix original series.
Yeah, it's yeah. So Netflix paid, to have the rights to air it in or stream it, have the streaming rights for it in Japan.
Right.
You can buy
anything. That's it.
Pretty much,
buy anything.
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, for Netflix, they're going to do whatever deal makes sense to them, right? It's like, does this make sense to have this exclusive in, on our streaming service, or does it make sense to sell it to another service? And then at the end of the day, when the contract runs out or whatever, they can put it back on their service.
Netflix is making billions of dollars. They know what they're doing. Well,
and then in Canada, for instance, like the company that owns the Space Channel here, I think it's Sci-Fi in the States, but here it's called Space, or it might be Sci-Fi Canada now. I can't remember. Anyways, they own the rights to Star Trek here in Canada. So it doesn't matter who makes the Star Trek in the States, like what distribution that CBS decides to put it on, or Paramount or whatever. Space gets it here in Canada because they pay for the rights for the Star Trek. So we had Star Trek on broadcast television, like the all these ones that are only on CBS streaming are on broadcast television here in Canada.
Right. Hey, speaking of Star Trek, maybe you can hear this.
No, I can't hear it. Move it closer to your microphone.
I can't. It's the air conditioner.
Oh, what was it saying?
My air conditioner talks when I turn it on and off.
I actually can't stand any of that stuff. Anytime that stuff happens, I hack it right off. Hey, we got Rocket Sauce in the chat. That's our guy.
What's up?
That's our guy.
Hey, Rocket Sauce had a birthday recently.
Oh, happy birthday, Rocket Sauce. Okay, so what 3 movies are we going to go with for this month? Well, you look and see what's available. I'm going to tell
I'm pretty sure these are okay. Let me just check this Monday thing real quick and make sure.
September, we're doing 80s school comedies. Is that open for suggestion?
As for what movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had it in my head. Well, let me hang.
Okay, you can only do one thing.
Hang on a second. Yeah,
you can only do one thing.
I'm not a multitasker. I focus on what I'm doing.
In October, Curtis will be doing Curtis's Revenge, horror comedy or horror anthologies or trolls. We need to pick. That's right. That's the third thing. Then Rocket Sauce suggested a coming of age 3-pack over in Discord. And then I said, because he really just wanted to watch Stand By Me again, which is a Stephen King movie. So I suggested maybe doing Stephen King movies.
There are a lot of films that were based on his novellas.
Yeah.
Something's going on here where I can't type in Netflix. What'd you do?
You can't type in Netflix?
Yeah, like you go to the search bar and you type in, it's not, there it goes.
Not have the ability to type.
What is it, like What About Monday? Something like that?
What happened to Monday?
What happens to Monday? What happened?
Hey, what happened? What happened on Monday?
I do not have this.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay. I say we go with the old guard because that was the first one that came in.
Okay.
And I really don't know anything about it other than that I've seen just an image of a woman walking around. The tall grass.
Okay.
Let me check on that.
I think it's just tall grass. I don't know if there's a the.
Okay. If these things show up, that's it.
Definitely have it in Canada because Steven watched it, unless he did it through nefarious means.
He is nefarious. He probably imported it from China. There is something here called In the Tall Grass, which is based on the novella by Stephen King and Joe Hill. So
what?
if that's the one.
I don't know if do I have Discord here? On my phone here.
And it is a Netflix original.
That's got to be it then. In the Tall Grass.
In the Tall Grass. Okay. We'll go with that. Extraction.
Is that Ryan Reynolds movie?
Hang on. Extraction. No, it looks like Thor.
Thor?
Yeah.
Oh. The guy who plays Thor?
Yeah, I should say the secretary from Ghostbusters. Answer the call.
Yeah, I can't read it. I enjoyed In the Tall Grass, so it's In the Tall Grass. He's correct. So that's a Stephen King one. We do back
based
to back
on a Stephen King novella.
Okay. Well, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what these are about, so.
Okay, and Extraction. So those will be the three. Sorry, Society, Josh, but
yeah,
your movie's just not available.
What happened to Monday? Exactly.
So next month we're doing 80s school comedies.
Yeah, I just got that in my head because I received so much flack during our past Fandango about how I hate the children and teenagers.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying movies about high schoolers back in the 80s because when I was a kid, that was my image. I was told that's what high schoolers are like. And I can think of, good times with things like whether you want to go like Screwball, Revenge of the Nerds stuff, or if you want to do more like a Ferris Bueller. There's lots of, high school antics, school antics.
To be fair, in the 80s, those movies were adults pretending to be in high school.
Yes, and that's what I like.
Okay.
Because then there's no actual kids.
All right. Well, give us your suggestions for 80s school comedies, and we'll take them into consideration, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and remember that we did already do Back to School, which is what I was originally going to call the month, but
that would be confusing.
A little confusing there.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and then Rocket Sauce suggested the coming of age 3-pack. Oh, let's pick Curtis's thing. Do we want to do horror comedy, horror anthologies, or trolls?
Well,
I mean, when it comes to horror comedy, we already covered the best. It's Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I know what I'm getting into for horror comedy. and I don't know what there is beyond those troll movies. Troll 2 is particularly infamous for being a terrible movie, so I imagine that's one of the things he would pick. Or maybe the here's what I'm imagining. There's a movie called Troll, and then they made a sequel called Troll 2,
Right.
which I don't know. Like, there's something like it doesn't match up, or there's just something like Troll 2 is like really, really bad movie. And then there was a documentary called the greatest worst movie, something like that. So I imagine he would make us watch those troll movies and then the documentary about those movies.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I heard the documentary is really good. It's pretty interesting.
That all does sound interesting.
So I am a little curious because I've never seen this Troll 2 movie. I've seen a lot of the clips that are really famous. But at the same time, horror anthology sounds kind of interesting. And yes, Ryan, I also thought Ernest Scared Stupid might be
horror comedy. Right.
Well, it's horror. It's horror comedy and it's trolls.
There's trolls in Ernest Scared
Trolls, the milk trolls, the dairy trolls, or whatever they are.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's not the best work. It's not his finest achievement.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Ernest Goes to Camp.
Saw that a bunch when I was a kid.
Right. We had that on tape, watched that a lot. And I watched Ernest Saves Christmas.
Yep. Ernest Goes to Jail.
That was the last one I saw.
I think those are the three big ones. A lot of people like that Scared Stupid. But then, it's like those four are kind of fairly well known, and then it goes down to all the straight to video stuff.
Yeah. Oh, poor Jim Burney. Rest in peace. Okay, so are we going with Trolls? Is that what we're saying?
I could go Trolls or Anthology because I imagine I can't think of a lot of horror anthology films. I know that what was it, like Halloween 3? It doesn't focus on Michael Myers. It's just like some other. I think it was an anthology. But beyond that, I really can't think of any. So I think that's interesting because then even if it's garbage, it's only like a short segment and then you move on to another one. Or it could be really good because it's kind of Twilight Zone-y, Outer Limits, like a short, well, like, whoa, that was freaky. Let's move on. So the each one can't really outlive its premise, Just get it over and done with.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you have any strong feelings, one or the other?
No, I don't. I really don't. The Trolls one sounds interesting. The anthology thing sounds interesting too. We've never done anything like that before either. So,
well, what if we split the difference?
Trolls anthologies,
a troll movie, an anthology movie, and then Curtis can pick whatever the other, like if he wants to do a second anthology or a second troll movie. The only reason I think this might, the only like monkey wrench in his plan here might be if he has a trilogy planned out.
Yeah, and I think that's what has happened, and he's listening to this right now, getting angry at us, like, just pick one, God damn it! I don't want extra work to do. I imagine that's what's happening right now. So,
well, I guess what we're saying is we could go either way.
Yeah,
anthologies or troll movies.
Okay, so Curtis, if you feel strongly about any one of these, let us know. I think for horror comedy, I'm not interested in that one because I feel like Shaun of the Dead is
once you've seen Shaun of the Dead and Evil Dead.
Yeah, if you want to, those are kind of comedies too, and I don't know. I'm not really. I don't know. Maybe there are stuff out there that there is probably stuff out there that I don't know that I probably would enjoy, but that's, if you're asking me, that's the one I'm least interested in. And
Same here.
The anthology one, yeah, that's like we've never done anything like that before, so that kind of interests me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't think I've ever seen an anthology movie that's really
Oh.
gripped me. Like I've like
Mm-hmm.
like I've watched Creep Show, and I think there was a Twilight Zone movie, right? I think I watched that
There
a
was. I
long,
haven't
long
seen
time
it.
ago.
But yeah, that Twilight Zone isn't really horror. It's
No, it's got horror elements in it, though. I mean, it's as horror.
it
It's as much
does.
horror as the original Star Trek. There's people can
Hmm.
make arguments that the original Star Trek is a horror TV show. Scary Movie 1 and 2 are good. I enjoyed. This is Rocket Sauce. I enjoyed Scary Movie 1. I don't think I've ever seen any of the sequels.
I think that's the only one I've seen.
And I don't think I appreciated Scary Movie 1 as much as like you have to. It's one of those things where it at the time too. There were all these horror movies out with all these horror movie cliches and tropes and that, and here comes this movie that kind of poked fun at all that stuff while being a serious horror movie at the same time. So I got it, but like it was like just kind of okay, and a lot of people really liked it, but I don't know, it really wasn't my thing. And then there's like
Are you
Cabin in the
talking about?
Woods.
Are you talking about Scary Movie, or are you talking about Scream?
Oh,
It's like something's not adding up here.
oh my goodness, I forgot that they're two different series.
Well, that's the thing is Scary Movie was largely based on Scream and what was
right.
popular then. I remember I saw that in the theater with some friends, and it had a lot of like the Budweiser "What's up" and all that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the comedy may be of that time and might not still be funny today.
I don't know. Yeah, let's stay away from the comedy. Let's not do it. We're doing 80s comedies the month before, so let's not do back-to-back comedies. How's that? So just pick anthologies or trolls, Curse. Pick one.
Yep.
Okay. And then Rocket Sauce's suggestion, coming of age films, I thought was pretty good. Or we could do. Really, he was talking about Stand By Me, which is a movie that I would really love to talk about.
I just watched it a few months ago.
It's been a little while for me, but it's a fantastic movie. Spoiler alert for Fandango, we both like it. But there's a couple of other movies, like it's based on a Stephen King novel. Within that same, it's based on a Stephen King novella. Really, it was a short story in different seasons, which was a package of 4 short stories, and another short story in that book was The Shawshank Redemption. It was called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. So that'd be a cool one to do as well. And The Green Mile is another great example of Stephen King doing sort of horror stuff, but not really, more supernatural. So I think those would be 3 good movies. Or we can do the coming of age thing.
Both are good. I wouldn't mind doing coming of age. I mean, what do we... What month
Stand
is
By
this?
Me.
October.
Breakfast Club.
Well, a lot of these kind of are crossing boundaries here. Like you talk about, well, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller. Those are like school comedies, and they're coming of age stories.
Right.
So we could put that into September. Like I was thinking more goofball comedy, but if you want to do coming of age, there's still a lot of comedy elements in there.
Or we just do the Stephen King thing.
Or the Stephen King thing.
Be back-to-back horror. But those really, like, he's just a horror writer, but those really aren't horror movies. Mm-hmm. Not at all. They just have some gross moments in them.
We should do Fandango Mania and just watch whatever we want.
That'd be chaos. That's pretty much latter half of every episode lately.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think we figured out
coins or something.
We figured out enough for now. So let's move on. We got a good chunk here done. So give us your 80s school comedy suggestions, and we'll take a look at them.
Mm-hmm.
But this month we're definitely doing Old Guard, In the Tall Grass, and Extraction.
Yes.
All available on Netflix.
Unless
Everywhere.
it's not.
Unless it's not in your area. Okay. There appears to be some confusion about Fandango moving to Anchor, and some people are wondering if they have to resubscribe to anything or anything like that. No, you don't. Everything stays the same. So basically, what this Anchor website did was it took our Podbean feed and cloned it over onto their service, and then all I had to do was from there was to take it and move it over to the new service. So, in theory, no one needs to subscribe again. It should all have changed over. If it hasn't, let me know, because there are some third-party services out there that might not have had as smooth of a transition as Spotify and iTunes and the bigger services. So there might be something. So just let me know if you're having trouble downloading the show. Any one of the 34, the Power 30, any one of you is having an issue, let me know. That's it.
That's our big tagline after 6 years of this. Retro Fandango, 30 strong.
Holding on to the 30.
Are we into our
Yep.
mania time now, or we just talk about movies?
Nope. You're going to tell me about what's going on with Ghostbusters, the video game, and Winston's Laugh.
Yes.
What's your issue?
It's actually two separate things.
Okay.
The video game I just mentioned because I did play through it again, and it's still wonderful. I still enjoy that game so much. And I'm still motivated to scan and collect everything that I can. Because even though I've played through it like half a dozen times now, I still forget. It's like, oh yeah, you get the cup with the balloon, free balloons for the kids and all that. It's like, there's so many little touches in there.
Yeah.
But I played through it, and my kids were watching me. So now my oldest daughter, who before this was playing nothing but, platformers and Mario and Animal Crossing, that kind of thing. She's like, can I try that? Like, yes, you can. So now she's jumping up to play Ghostbusters. She's enjoying it, and she's doing well. So I'm very happy.
Cool. So this is like her first, I guess.
It's her first like twin stick movement thing. So she's like, do I have to play it from the beginning? Because I just want to start catching ghosts. I'm like, yeah, you should, because you'll learn how to move and what all the buttons do. It's not difficult, but you got to go through the steps. So I can see when she plays, she's very robotic. It's like, move, then look this way, look at the controller, then look up. So I'm just enjoying watching her play the game now. Winston's Laugh. I don't know why it took me this long to remember it, but a few months back, I rewatched Ghostbusters, and for the first time, I noticed Winston's laugh at the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, they're on top of the building, and he does I love this town, and he slaps his hands together, and then it starts, like the music starts to kick in for the end credits. But then after he slaps his hands and the music kicks in, he also looks down and he goes, ha, 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 ha. And it really is literally just him going, ha, 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 ha. I never picked it out before, but it seems really awkward. I think like they were shooting the scene, and then Reitman probably said, "Okay, and laugh." Ha 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 ha.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's a little. I can't not notice it now.
There's like some inflection in there. I don't think it's that bad. There's some inflection there. I think he meant it as a legitimate laugh, like that's what he was supposed to do.
It's in the middle. It's not quite natural enough.
I don't know. It's
anyway,
a lot.
Look, that movie is like all-star, like full scores across the board. You really got to nitpick to find things in there.
Yeah, like the big explosion at the end. How did they survive?
A little too big. Well, it's a comedy.
Even Ivan Reitman said in the commentary, like, when they showed me this effect, I'm like, you ruined my movie. Everyone is going to say, how did these guys survive? Then nobody cared at that point because
when Venkman comes out with just like a little bit of marshmallow fluff in his hair,
nobody cares. Because the movie has taken you this far, and you're ready to just go with anything because you just want that happy ending.
Yeah. One other thing I was thinking about when I was going through the game is obviously, there's no Dana Barrett and they couldn't get Rick Moranis to come back. But I wonder if they made an attempt to get Peter Nichols to come back as Janosch, because there is a large chunk of the movie that's in a museum. So I was in this most recent playthrough, I kept thinking like, yeah, where is he? How come they didn't have any nod to his character?
Yeah, nothing at all. They did have they do have the painting of Vigo in the
and they got the original voice actor.
Yeah, they got him to do all those lines again, which was pretty incredible. For just because it wasn't any part of the game, it was just something that you had to go and find in the firehouse and run
it's
across.
Just if you wanted to. I think you get an achievement point the first time you do it, but he says a few things. You click on it over and over.
Yeah, that's wild for a little Easter egg in there. Pay that actor to sit there, say all those lines. Okay, I don't know. I don't agree with you on Winston's laugh. I think it's a little more natural than that. I'll tell you the. No, I don't even. I can't even tell you. I can't tell you. Ask me after. Ask me after.
Is it a Ghostbusters thing?
Well, it sort of is. It's about the new. Okay, it's about the new ghost. That new old ghost. That Ghostbusters 2016 movie.
Answer the Call.
That's the one. And the 20. So I was taking. So one of the actors in that movie did the announcements for the Emmy Awards, I think. And for my job, I had to take in the feed off of the satellite, so one of our entertainment shows can record it. And the person who was hosting, I put it up early. I got it all tuned up and set up early for any sort of troubleshooting or anything. And when I took it in, the person who was hosting was doing verbatim what they were like. They were going through a run through of the thing, but she did it in character, and it was just like the most grating thing I had ever seen. And then had to watch it again. But I really shouldn't say anything because I shouldn't. I should say. All right.
Phony people.
It was pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, it's not really fair to criticize someone's dry run through before it's broadcast. Like, it's not meant, like, they're working stuff out a little bit. But anyways. Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Regis Philbin, who had passed away. The guy was legend in our household when I was growing up. My grandmother, my Nona, absolutely adored him. And there's really a lot, like, I mean, a lot of people are like, Regis, like, who cares about Regis Philbin? But let me tell you, anyone who does any sort of podcasting or is on television or doing YouTube videos or anything like that, and you're doing anything where you're talking a little bit about yourself, you owe a little bit to Regis Philbin, because he was the originator of doing that on television. Nobody was doing what Regis was doing. I first started watching him because when we would spend time at the cottage with my grandmother, she would turn the TV on and she'd have the show on at 9:00 in the morning. And the show just looks so dorky. It looks terrible. Like, it looked like if you watch some old YouTube clips of it now, it's like, just these really gaudy flowers and pastel colors and everything. It looks like an old person's living room. It looks terrible. And, on television you used to see Kathy Lee Gifford. She used to be in all those stupid Carnival Cruise commercials. They were really cheesy and hokey and that. So I knew who she was. And I just thought, oh man, this is terrible. What the hell? My grandmother watching this show. But then there's this guy, Regis, on there, and he is just cutting me up. Like, he just had this great delivery and great timing. And he would talk about, just stuff happening that he did the night before. Like, he'd talk about his alarm clock not going off, or getting stuck in traffic, or who he had dinner with the night before, or the people he ran into. And it was just all stuff about his life. He never got into anything political, which was a lot easier to do back then, but he didn't, he never wanted like any politics or anything to get into his rap. And he would just fill 20 minutes of that show at the beginning of that show every day from Monday to Friday. He would just fill it with just stuff that he's doing, and he'd play off of, the co-host and that. And nobody was doing that before. Nobody was doing that in television before Regis did. And he was really the originator. And, he deserves a little bit of credit and respect for that. Yeah. So I really missed him. I really I remember like when our television channel, like when Kathy Lee left the show, she left the show in 2000, I believe. And whoever was airing the show in Canada, whoever had the rights for it, gave up the show. They said, "Oh, Kathy Lee's gone. This show is going to be in the tank." And I'm like, man, they're crazy. Regis is the guy. He's the draw. And our little rinky-dink station that I was working for at the time picked up the show. So whenever we worked the morning shift, we got to run this Regis show at 9 a.m. And doing any sort of live television was a real pain in the ass. You just dreaded having to do it at times. But not Regis, because that was just entertainment. And we got to watch him go through all like different co-hosts and stuff like that before he picked Kelly Ripa for his permanent co-host. And that was great because Kathy Lee was gone. She was kind of annoying. And you got to see how who worked with Regis and who didn't. And Regis could really work with anyone, but there was really, when it came down to it, there was really two people that were the best with him. That was Kelly Ripa and Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton was fantastic, and apparently they offered her the show, but she makes way too much money. She just makes a ton of dough. There's no way that she's getting up every morning to talk to Regis for 20 minutes, maybe for a week, but not permanently. But yeah, and you talk to any, he could do, you'd watch him with Don Rickles. He was huge friends with Don Rickles, and Don Rickles had him all the time. He could do the straight man stuff with Don Rickles. If you ever want to see Regis at his best doing the straight man stuff, it's the time he had Don Rickles on for the entire show. It was from 1996. You can look it up on YouTube, and you could just see Regis feeding Don material, right? They don't have anything scripted or anything like that. And Don Rickles is sitting behind him, and he's like, "Yeah, so there's my producer Gilman," And then Don Rickles would riff on Gilman. And then and there's the executive producer Art. And then he'd go and just rip on Art. Oh, and there's the cue card guy. And then Don Rickles would rip on him. The camera guy. He'd go you could just see him feeding him all the little bit of information that Don Rickles needed to start. Basically Regis is saying it's okay to attack this guy. It's okay to attack that guy now. That's great. And then he could do the hammy stuff too. Anytime he would go on, he could be the cart, when he would go on David Letterman, dressed up as Shrek or whatever. That's a great clip too. You should check that out on YouTube. But yeah, I just watched this past week too. They did a little tribute to him on the Kelly Ripa show. They did his final episode, which was in 2011. Time really flies. I had no idea it was that long since he did it, since his last show. And I always thought that Kelly that they kind of didn't want to resign his contract. His contract was up and they just said he was going to make too much money or whatever, and they didn't want to sign him. But apparently, according to him, he's always said that no, he didn't want to do it anymore. And I found that so surprising because that he didn't give that away. He didn't tip it away that at any point on air was he tired of doing the job that he was on. And that's how much of a professional he was. Every time he went in, he gave it his all. And even though that he was done in 2011, he just did not want to do it anymore. He was almost 80 at the time. Never showed it on air. Never complained once. Nothing like that. That's just the kind of professional he was. And there won't be too many more like him.
I know. I don't know much about Regis aside from just seeing him appear here and there on everything over the years. But he seemed to be the last of his kind, of those old school entertainers where you do the talk show host, you do the game show host. He was a singer too. He would do those crooner kind of things. So like the Sinatra era kind of entertainers.
Yeah.
So I probably was the last.
Yeah. And you listen to Regis too. When he talks, he has that announcer yuck that I don't like when Ryan Seacrest does it or whatever. Like, hey everybody, coming up, we got next Sunday, and that's Regis. Like Regis would do that voice, but he was so natural at it. You wouldn't even pick it up. You had to listen for it. You had to stop and actually listen to what he was saying to actually pick up on it. And that's the difference between that kind of entertainer and today. But when he came to New York, that was his last shot in television. He struck it big late in life. He was already in his 50s, by the time that show started taking off. And, he was struggling doing the game shows and trying to do a crooner show, trying to do something more like Dick Cavett or whatever, interviews and stuff like that. And it wasn't until he got to New York and he started opening up, like just opening that show every day with what he was doing in that. And he would hold up newspapers. He would talk about what was in the news or whatever. But, it was just, it was always funny. Like he would just talk about like the headline and what the newspaper was talking about without really giving his opinion either way. It was just like, it would be really, it seems like, like talking like political stuff and that is really low hanging fruit. That's why I do it all the time, because I'm not that talented. Right. But to be able to connect with people on every level without tipping like what your thoughts are or anything like that. They just talk about what's happening. It's a real skill, and he just did it so naturally too. Anyways, rest in peace, Regis. Okay. Want to talk about some movies?
Sure.
All right.
Or the name Regis. Like, you ever heard anybody else named Regis?
They actually have on camera the very first time that now this is politically incorrect. Okay. Like this was in the 70s. Okay. So everybody take it easy. Okay. So they actually have on camera the very first time that Regis approaches Don Rickles, and Regis was doing a local show in LA. Wasn't well known at all. And he goes up, he was at an event for Tommy Lasorda, who was the LA Dodgers manager at the time. And, the Who's Who was invited to this celebration of Tommy Lasorda. And Regis was covering the event. And he goes up to Don Rickles and he's like, hey, Don, what you doing here and all that stuff. And Don Rickles looks at him and he's like, what's your name? And he says, it's Regis. He's like, Regis, where's your dress? Insinuating it's a girl's name right off the bat. Okay.
My mouse doesn't work.
Let's talk about movies and stuff.
All right, let's talk about battery from my mouse.
I know. Rocket Sauce is waiting for your opinion on Enterprise season 1.
Yeah,
Can't wait. He loves Star Trek.
Okay, yes. Enterprise season 1. Let me remind everybody, I'm not watching this to discover like a new favorite series or anything. I'm just going back to revisit what I missed out on.
How many episodes is season 1?
Each season is approximately 25.
So you basically watched approximately 20 hours of a whole season of Star Trek as an experiment?
As a way of going back and see if I missed anything good.
Okay.
I'm not expecting it to, become like change like, oh no, Enterprise is actually better than Next Generation. I just want to see what I missed, because it is the last segment of true Star Trek. It was the last attempt at that time, and then it went away and it came back in this like Kurtzman universe of stuff that
garbage
doesn't count. So I went through and I just wanted to see, and basically, in short, what most people's opinion are if you dropped out of Enterprise when it was in its first run. I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't know. All of that stuff is true. The characters are pretty bland and weak. The writing is especially weak. It seems like a lot of the depth and subtext they had going on in something like DS9 is just completely gone. It's just very flat on the surface, very simplified storylines. I did take some notes though. whenever we bring up Enterprise, we always get onto that decontamination gel stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I kept track, and I did watch the entire first season, 25 episodes. How many times do you think they used that decontamination gel?
It was more than once.
I'm asking, how many times do you think they use it?
I thought it was only once. So if you're saying they dipped back into that well over the course of 22 episodes,
25.
25 episodes. Okay, I'm going to say then there's a good 5 episodes.
You would have been correct. It was
Okay.
only once.
Oh, it was only once.
Only
Okay.
that one time that they use that decontamination gel. Now,
Okay.
for starters, I want to say I think the decontamination room is a good idea. It makes sense for that period.
Yeah.
Ripley, mentioned that in Alien.
Right.
But they only do the gel one time. They do have 2 other scenes in the decontamination room where they just have people sitting there. And of course, they're in their like skivvies, especially T'Pol, who was wearing like the extremely short Vulcan style. I have no idea. So I think they kind of like phased it out. They're just like, oh, okay, we went too far. So at least I don't know if they bring it back in the later seasons. It just
was in
seems
the pilot,
like,
wasn't it? The gel suit.
I think it was the second episode or something,
Yeah, okay.
but basically it was one thing. It was like a one-time thing, and they probably realized, all right, maybe we're reaching too far. The characters bicker a lot. They're constantly seem annoyed, especially the captain. The captain does not carry himself like a captain. He seems way too casual. He's like often laying on his bed in his room when one of his officers comes in to talk to him, and he's just like laying there, scratching his dog, throwing a ball in the air. He just seems a little too relaxed. The phrase "that's in order" appears in almost every episode where the characters are bickering and, oh, it's like a life and death situation. It's like, no, I'm not going to drink the water. You drink it, and that's in order. And like, way too often. And Dr. Phlox, of course, is the best character. I will tell you, there is one good episode that is worth watching and feels like Star Trek. It's episode number 12 called Dear Doctor. It does focus on Dr. Phlox. And it is, as far as I can tell, my memory serves, it's the only episode that does not have a phaser or firefight or torpedo. It centers on cultural understanding and knowing where the boundary is of interference and, morality, what is right, what is wrong, different opinions on the subject. It's a good episode of Star Trek. There are a couple episodes where it's like almost there. Like that's a good premise. That's a good idea. But the writing is just so simple that it falls apart. And the characters, they don't really shine. There are a couple of secondary characters that unfortunately they don't develop very well. So I'm curious if they develop them a little more in the subsequent seasons. In that episode, Dear Doctor, there's one of them. There's another crew member. I forget her name, but she appears like maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of the season. And then I think it was like one of the later episodes where she came back again. And immediately, like, they seem a little more interesting. Because I think when they put one of those supporting cast members in, they're free to just let them say what they want to say. And it seems like most of the main characters are always just giving very bland dialogue. Like, oh, sensors are down, and, really just mundane stuff.
Yeah.
So
there's no interesting aliens.
We do get the Andorians. They come back and they have little like animatronic antlers. And Jeffrey Combs plays the main Andorian. There are a lot of other Star Trek characters that I noticed in directors like LeVar Burton, Roxanne Dawson, Michael Dorn, a lot of Trek veterans were directing episodes.
Well, that was worked into their contracts, right? For the movies and that, if they wanted to be if they wanted them in the movies,
They got directing.
They got to direct a few episodes of Enterprise or even Voyager.
Yeah, because they, I think a lot of them had moved on to do that.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dean Stockwell is in an episode, so you get a little Quantum Leap reunion.
That's cool.
Odo was in an episode. There was one episode with Ferengi where they had Ethan Phillips, who was Neelix, Jeffrey Combs again, who was playing the Andorian. He also played a Ferengi, and Clint Howard, Ron Howard's creepy brother.
Yeah,
they were all playing Ferengi in an episode that started kind of promising, and then again, a lot of these episodes just fall flat. So basically, I'm at the point of like, do I start season 2? And I kind of want to, because that's really what I'm interested in. Because I think if you're gonna change things up, it's going to be most noticeable at the start of a new season. You know, do they get a few new writers? Do they try to focus on something else? So, I do plan on continuing.
It's either season 2 or 3 where they do the overarching. But then that's supposed to be really good.
They started that in this one, but they had kind of like 2 of those stories. There's the main one that you see in the pilot, and then a couple episodes go by, and then they do it again. But it just feels like they forget about it, you know, and then it just kind of comes back later. It definitely doesn't have that DS9 continuing from episode to episode. And then, there's something going on with this race called the Suliban that are like these shapeshifters, and like they're doing something weird, like some temporal Cold War. And then there's also the thing with, and then there's also this thing with the Andorians and the Vulcans. And, you know, that kind of becomes a new thing, but then that one settles. It's not very clear because it's episodic, but they're also trying to tie in these longer stories. And I forgot all about them, like mistrusting the Vulcans, and they're constantly talking bad about the Vulcans. Like, we hate these Vulcans looking over our shoulders. Seems like a lot of anxiety, and it really is while it was still a little bit of real Star Trek, it definitely was leading into all of the bickering and arguing and stuff that you see in the new Trek.
Yeah.
It's an odd duck.
Well, you know, like there's nothing wrong with them arguing, and there's nothing wrong with, having phasers and stuff like that. But it just seemed like as if the older show, just the Next Generation, knew how to balance all that stuff, put everything in perspective. That's
definitely
give context to the arguments that they would be having or whatever.
Yeah, they do take a lot of opportunity to play around with like, whoop, there's someone scantily clad over there. Whoop, they fell down and they're like on top of each other.
Right.
You know?
And like the Next Generation had that. Remember they had the episode where they went down to the planet and everyone was half naked, and then
they
threw a football in the wrong place, and they were
balance is the right word.
Right, but that's it. Yes. See, because I'm just trying to nip Bill's argument in the bud, because he keeps bringing up like every dumb thing that happens in the Next Generation or whatever, and it's like context, man. Context it's also, when this stuff happens. You know,
there were look at the gel thing that happened one time, but that's what everybody goes to and thinks about. Like,
what's stuck out gel,
right? It's like saying Next Generation is the series where the captain runs around exploding people's heads with a phaser. You know, it was one episode, and then they realized that's not the direction we want to go in. Mm-hmm. And it's also, there are some episodes of Enterprise that are okay, and if they were the worst episodes, it would be acceptable.
Right.
It's just they don't have the peaks. You know,
exactly.
Next Gen had so many great peaks that you could forgive a couple of.
That was a bad episode.
Next week, there's a Robin Hood in the holodeck. You know, so
right. But then the next episode would be a home run or whatever. You know, I used to hate it anytime they were in the holodeck. I was like, I'm not a fan of the holodeck episodes. Whatever.
That thing is just a death trap.
I mean, it was interesting on the Next Generation because it was at times it could be interesting, I should say, because it was a new thing for the show. So like, hey, we can explore different things. Hey, what happens if one of them becomes alive or whatever? But then, when they started using it as a crutch a little too much,
well, you gotta fill out that season.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's old school TV where they were writing 22 episodes a season. Now that is 2 seasons of one show where they're talking about basically one plot. There's just one overarching plot over 13 episodes. And that's a problem, I think, with a lot of television too. And Red Letter Media brings this up a few times too. Is like how, this like something that would be 15 minutes of your pilot episode is stretched out into 3 episodes of a show today, and it's just way too much. It's time to move on, kind of thing. Anyways, all right. So there's only one episode I should check out, episode 12 on Enterprise.
It's definitely it's one that I can defend and say that was good trek. Right. I mean, it's not perfect. There are a couple little parts that you could definitely write better, but for the most part, it's like, hey, that was worth sitting down to watch.
I'll check it out. Okay, I got nothing for movies, but I'm looking at my movie list. I watched the Fandango stuff that we already talked about, and then the rest of them are just movies that I just really didn't care too much for. So I really got nothing. Like, I watched a movie called The Old Man with the Gun, and it wasn't very good. It had Robert Redford in it. It was like, it wasn't terrible. It just was okay. That's really all I can say. I'm watching The Andromeda Strain right now. I'm about halfway through it. Haven't finished it.
I've never seen that. Like, I remember seeing isn't there a scene in that movie? You've seen it before?
Yes.
Okay. Isn't there a scene where like somebody cuts somebody, but the blood doesn't? It's not liquid. It's more like a powder or something.
You're not spoiling anything. That's just within like the first few minutes.
Okay, that's the only thing I know.
Yeah. So there's this alien. So basically, a satellite thing that they sent out in space to just explore space and all that and it makes contact with a meteorite, and it does whatever on the meteorite, picks up some samples or whatever, falls back down on Earth, but it accidentally falls. They chose a remote location, but things don't fall exactly where they wanted it to, and it falls into this small town. And so the Army or NASA/Army go in there into this small town, and everybody's dead. And so they put on the masks and everything like that. It's very appropriate for what's happening today. And they go in there, and that's where they find that people's blood have congealed and have turned into powder. It's based on a Michael Crichton novel, and it's really good. But I'm only halfway through it. But we're talking about like going through and getting sterilized. Like in this movie, all the scientists are not good looking people, and they strip them all down and all that so they can decontaminate them, and they got to go through like 5 levels. And so it's not like just hot bodies like rubbing gel up on each other.
Well, that's the thing. Ratings. They hired actors for that movie.
Yeah.
That's another. Sorry to go back to Enterprise, but that's another huge thing that you can't get past. Is they hired a model to play T'Pol.
Yeah,
I'm sure she's had some acting experience or whatever, but she just looks annoyed. And then other people that come on to play Vulcans can do it and deliver it and make you believe it. She just looks annoyed all the time.
And to be fair, Star Trek has done that in the past. Like the one who played V'ger there, the human, the alien in Star Trek Motion Picture. She was a model from somewhere, some European country, I believe.
Yeah, but to be the second gun on a TV series.
Yeah, something else.
I mean, it makes you appreciate how much Leonard Nimoy could do with an eyebrow. He had all that. He did what he could without laughing and smiling and stuff. She's got.
It's television. You're gonna put good-looking people on television. I don't think there's been a dog in the entire, unless they were playing an alien or something like that, or doing something quirky or something. But none of your main cast were exactly ugly people or anything.
No, but still, you find that balance.
It's balance. That's what we come back to again. Go too far. Just went too far. Rocket
Ish.
Sauce says he watched The Hunt. It was better than he thought it would be. Kind of like the movie Battle Royale. I've never seen Battle Royale.
Me
Never
neither.
even heard of that term until the video game thing started, and it sounds interesting. I do want to go back. I do
That's
want
the
to
one
watch
with
that.
the teenagers get stuck on an island.
Right.
Basically, what's that book?
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, Adrenaline Strain is a really good.
I read the book
watch.
many years ago, but
Movie
I
does it justice.
I forget a lot of the details.
It opens a lot like a episode of the Twilight Zone, and Sarah had tried watching it with me like 20 years ago or whatever when I first watched it, and she didn't like it, and then she suggested it. I think because I did a video on my channel. You can check that out at Buried on Mars, YouTube/Buried on Mars, where I did an unboxing video, and she watched it, and she was like, "Yeah, I want to watch that movie again." And as we're watching it, she's like, "I don't understand how I didn't like this. This is awesome." And I'm like, well, "You probably weren't in the headspace then, but it's good so far. I'm only about halfway through it though." But there is
I do remember a lot of like in the story, at least, like a lot of like sealed doors, contamination, and something about a paper that like some paper that like started to shred and stopped an alarm or something. And
I don't know.
maybe that was only in the book.
I might not have gone that far. It does pay tribute to the book because you remember the book had a lot of diagrams and stuff like that. And they
Crichton books have charts and diagrams.
Yeah. And a lot of that shows up in the movie the way they did the movie. It was directed by Robert Wise, who directed the motion picture. So
that's the second mention of
so
the motion picture.
Right.
There you go. I'm ready.
And he also directed The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original. So he's got a sci-fi cred. But it's a good movie so far, and I'm pretty sure it's going to wrap up just as well as I remembered it. I'm
watching The Cable Guy.
You're halfway through it or so?
I think I'm like about an hour in.
Okay.
Nah.
I didn't think you'd like that movie.
I assumed I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
I was shocked that this is the one I was talking about. Bob Odenkirk is in a scene in there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And David Cross is in the back, and he doesn't really say anything. Jack Black has a minor character in there.
So that movie was directed by Ben Stiller, who had the Ben Stiller show.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. That's
on the Ben Stiller show, and Jack Black.
That's what I was getting because Andy Dick is in a scene too, and then I kind of remember like they did a show. I never watched it, but at least heard of it.
It was good. Show was good, and I enjoyed the movie. For a while there, it was my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
It has its moments. There are a couple of funny scenes, but I'm still just not a fan of the Jim Carrey show.
I like the dark.
This is the balance they're talking about. It's just if it were a little more balanced, flatten things out amongst a lot of other characters. Just watching Jim Carrey walk on scene and say, "Okay, everybody stand back. I'm going to do my thing for a couple minutes."
I don't think you can stop him. That's just the way.
No, if you like it, fine. I'm going to power on through the end.
I honestly haven't watched it since the VHS days, so I am due for to watch it with fresh eyes. But
it just showed up. There's actually a lot of stuff coming on Netflix soon that I'm interested in watching. Just stuff that.
Did you check out Creepy Josh's Plex server yet?
Are we allowed to talk about that on there?
I don't know. Maybe we're not. You know what? Never mind. Sleep, everybody. Hey, how about this movie Terry that you're going to be watching? What about that?
Yeah, that came on my radar. Hadn't heard of it before, but a movie called Terry, Terri, from 2011. I watched it on the YouTube. It's somebody uploaded it on YouTube there, and it's pretty darn good.
Who's in it?
I don't know. Oh, John C. Reilly, is that his name?
Yeah,
the guy who does like the Will Ferrell movies.
Yep.
He's in there. Creed from The Office, who is in that hippie band.
He was in a hippie band?
What was that movie he was in?
Creed from The Office was in a hippie band?
Creed Bratton, that's his name. Yeah, he was a guitarist for some band.
He was?
Famous band. Yeah.
The guy...
The Grassroots.
Who are the Grassroots? I've never heard of these people.
Our American rock band between 1966 and 75. I've at least heard of them. Come on.
Man, that's surprising. You heard of somebody that I haven't.
No. But there's some other people in there. If you want to see who's in there,
Yes.
Go to... You ever heard of Roger Ebert?
I'm familiar with him, yes.
Roger Ebert. He has a website, rogerebert.com.
Yeah, a lot of his reviews.
And if you go to the review for Terry, there's a very nice picture there. And you can see who's in the movie.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Yeah. That is good to know. The Grassroots. Okay, I can't be reading about the Grassroots right now. That's interesting.
Yeah. But there's one scene towards the end that I think the movie kind of goes off the rails a little bit. I'm not quite sure what they were trying to say with that. But for the most part, it's a pretty well done movie and very likable protagonist.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Yep.
Terry, wrote it down. Okay, and that's on Netflix. I'll have to see if it's on my Netflix.
No. I found it on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. That's even easier. That is even easier.
Good quality upload, too.
Excellent. So catch it while you can.
That's about it. There's a bunch of stuff coming to Netflix that I'm curious to see. That Venom movie is coming out.
I know it's not. Couldn't even finish it.
Really?
I couldn't even finish it.
I'm curious. I think Netflix. Not Net. What's his name? Ryan likes that movie.
Venom. Ryan Gorman, you do not like Venom.
Is that what he said? No, I just mentioned that. That quote was from a while ago. Do you like Venom?
He's talking.
I'm curious to see it. I don't expect
Battle Royale.
Great.
I think.
I'm curious.
What else? What else are you looking for?
Christine. I've never seen that. John Carpenter movie about the car.
Yeah, I do enjoy that movie. I'm not sure if that's going to be up your alley.
I'll see.
Yeah, he loves the character. Hated the movie.
Well, I mean, are you talking about the character from the comics or the character from the movie?
No, he's talking about the character from the comics.
Yeah. I guess the big draw was because in Spider-Man 3, they made Venom look all weird. So people were so excited to see Venom look like Venom.
Yeah. But
it's your favorite actor in there, too, the Tom Hardy guy.
Yeah, that's another reason why I didn't. But I enjoy him in The Revenant. It's good times in that. It was really good.
I'm curious to check it out.
Mad Max. But he was not good as Venom. As Brock. Is that his name, I believe? Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock, yes.
There you go. I know things.
Look at you.
Yeah.
He looks weird in this movie, too. Didn't he look like Venom?
No, I don't even I'm 100% sure I didn't even get to Venom. It was so, unwatchable. Sorry. Anything else?
I've been watching Star Trek. That's been the bulk of my time. Did I talk about Child's Play? Did I mention that before?
No.
I watched the new Child's Play with Luke Skywalker.
Mark Hamill?
Yeah. He did the voice of Chucky in the reboot from a year or two ago.
Oh.
It's a terrible movie. The movie's really terrible writing. Just terrible, sloppy writing for convenience. There's a scene where the whole thing with this new Chucky is he's like a smart doll. So he can interact with other technology. There's just one company that creates all these things, and he can control your TV and stuff. So when he goes evil, he can manipulate stuff. And the kid who has the doll is in a store, and he's in the store with all the TVs lined up, and Chucky's messing with them. So Chucky's appearing on all the TVs, and the kid's shouting and screaming, "Oh, Chucky, you better stop this!" And it's there's tons of people in the store. How come nobody's seeing this? Because they shoot the kid in close up, so you can't see that there's other people around.
That makes sense.
You forget about them. It's like when you throw a blanket over a bird cage.
Right.
You can't see. You forget it. So I was like, they do that, and then like other people come to you, what's going on? Like, you obviously heard. You know?
Hmm.
But to his credit, Mark Hamill does do a good voice acting job. He's got a
I
good
do
voice.
like I like the original Chucky Child's Play. I've never seen any of the sequels, but the first one
I
was really good.
do believe that I've seen the first one in its entirety, and yeah, I remember it being okay.
Yeah,
Like
it's fun. It's not, it's not Shakespeare.
it's
You know.
tongue in cheek. Catherine Hicks is in it,
Yes,
who is also in Star
Star
Trek
Trek 4.
4.
That's
Yes,
and in a stupid show called Seventh Heaven.
yes,
My
which
wife
also
relentlessly watched
features Decker,
from Star Trek.
who is
the
in
motion
Star
picture.
Trek: The Motion Picture.
Maybe we should just change the name of the show to 7 Degrees to Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah.
We just name something and then we find a way to bring it back to the motion picture.
Hey, you know what goes great with Star Trek: The Motion Picture?
What?
Is a cup of tea.
Was a cup of tea featured in Star Trek: The Motion Picture?
No, but one of these days, I think maybe it would be really fun to have a cup of tea and talk about some Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
That does sound like fun.
It almost feels like it was an idea I had a long time ago, and maybe somebody even put that idea in my head, and then that person has just walked off the face of the earth.
Well, I hear he's into vinyl records now, so maybe he's just moved on from Star Trek.
I don't know. Yeah. All I know is my tea's getting cold.
Well, we have been at it for a while, so we can wrap this up. We've done enough.
Right.
Follow Retro Fandango on Twitter at retro_Fandango. Get a boner with Retro Fandango. Yeah, I have a secret. I have a week off this week, so I'm going to be part of my week. I'm going to be working on getting the soundboard back, so we'll be able to hear it. Hear the boners, the Fandango boners.
Boner, Fandango, boner.
And don't forget to check out Discord. And don't forget to tell us your favorite 80s school comedies, because we're going to be picking that. You can do that on Discord. And you know what? This time around, we'll throw a bone to the Twitter people. You can do it on Twitter as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Slumming.
Because you know what?
Slumming for contact.
Honestly, Discord is just so happening. I feel so bad for Twitter now that I got to throw it a bone. I mean, you go to Twitter and all it is political talk. There's people posting stuff
That's true.
About Trump and about secret police forces and that's all
politics and global crisis.
Yeah, but you go over Discord and talk about video games and movies and TV. It's nice. Okay, that's it. I think we've done it. We've said it all. We've got nothing else to say. Thank you, Ryan, for being so interactive with us. Very nice. Yeah. I see 2 other people are watching, but they decided not to say anything. That's okay.
They don't want to get burned.
That's right. Because we'd only attack them. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
I'm going to click end broadcast. I'm not going to leave the studio. I'm clicking end broadcast.